There
There
we
we go.
go.
And I can see you. This is exciting. I'm a
That's good.
I'm a big fan, and I just finished reading The Killing Stones, and that's what we're going to
Oh,
do
good.
today.
Grand.
What made you decide to bring back Jimmy Perez? I mean, he's been gone for about 8 years, and
Yeah.
Wildfire was the last one, right?
Yes, it was. And in Wildfire, he's heading off to Orkney with his partner Willow, and they're starting a new life. And I thought that would be the end of the story. But I I missed islands. I really love the Northern Isles. So Orkney's not quite as far north as Shetland, but it's still a lovely place. And I thought, oh well, why don't I just bring him back? Go north again. I felt a bit homesick for the Northern Isles. It's 50 years since I first went to Shetland. I dropped out of university, and so I was very young when I went. And I'm going back next week, back to Fair Isle, which is the island where I first worked in Shetland, to catch up with some friends and people who've been there since then, people who are still there. So that's
That's
great fun.
incredible. Are you going back just to visit friends, or are you going back for a special event?
No, I'm going back because Fair Isle, which is the smallest the most remote of the UK's islands, and it belongs to Shetland, but it's kind of halfway between Orkney and Shetland. Um, that I'm going with Promote Shetland, so they're their tourist board, to do a bit of PR about Fair Isle, and they've got a bird observatory there, which really sadly burnt down. There was an accidental fire, and they fundraised, and they've got the new observatory is up and running now. So I'm going to go and celebrate that, but lots of meaty old friends too.
Oh, that's exciting. So, with the Orkney Islands, are they the most northern islands?
No, Shetland is further north. So if you come to the northeast of Scotland and you go a little hop, you get to Orkney. And Shetland is quite a long further north, is further north, and halfway between the two groups, the two archipelagos, is Fair Isle, which politically belongs to Shetland.
Oh, that's so interesting. And they filmed the series in Shetland, correct?
Yes, no, they did. Yeah, it's quite an undertaking, but they all the exterior stuff, lots of the internal studio stuff is filmed in Glasgow, but most of the exteriors are filmed up in Shetland. So yeah, all the kit, all the actors, all the whole team go up and film in Shetland.
How it seems like it's
It's
so
quite a big deal,
remote.
and Shetlanders like it.
They don't
Yeah,
like
it's
it?
no, Islanders actually like it now because there's a local fixer called Davy who has a Facebook page. And so they get to be extras, and it's great because they provide transport for the team, and they put them up in their hotels and guest houses. So
It's a
yeah, it's
great
good
boost for their
fun.
economy.
Brings people in. Yeah, I think tourism has gone up by something like 46% since the show aired on television.
That's
And
incredible.
it's important because most of Shetland's wealth used to come from oil. There was a big oil terminal at Sullivans, and obviously we want to use less oil now because we're much greener. We want renewables, and the oil's running out too. But there's certainly no incentive to look for more oil because we're trying to cut down on carbon. And so this is a new way of bringing a bit of money into the islands through cultural tourism. Lots of music festivals and film festival, and they have the magnificent wool week every year, which is about knitting and spinning and dyeing. So
That's exciting. It's like almost you've done for Shetland what Diana Gabaldon did for Glasgow and all of those other areas in
well,
Scotland. The two
maybe,
boost of the
yeah.
economy.
Well, I think so. And there's a lot to be said for cultural regeneration, really. I live in the northeast of England, which is where there used to be coal mines and heavy industry. And now politicians are looking at a way of regeneration through culture, through, Vera's filmed here, was filmed here, and lots of great music and lots of great films. And it's a way of finding new work, new opportunities for small business.
And establishing Scotland's independence
Well,
as
I
well.
don't have any say in Scotland's independence. That's for them to decide because I'm English, so I'm not going to broach that subject.
Well, let's get back to the killing
To
spree.
Orkney, yeah.
Well, Jimmy and Willow have an interesting relationship on a personal level and also on a professional level. What kind of challenges do they face because of their
Well,
unique situation?
Willow's his boss. Willow is Jimmy's boss because she's in charge of all the Scottish islands, so the Western Isles. That's great because it gives me freedom to move to other places if I want to. And she's pregnant when the book starts. And but I think they have a very equal partnership. Actually, I think she's very, very supportive of Jimmy and understands that the dynamic might be a bit difficult for a strong island man who's having to do some of the childcare and look after and be a part of a team, really. And he's been a loner for so long that it's quite tricky. So that was quite interesting to write about.
It also seems like he's living with a ghost, the ghost of Fran, and that really hangs over him personally and their relationship.
Yeah, a bit maybe, but I think he's coming through that. I think he's finding his way out of that now.
I hope
It's
so.
hard. Yeah.
It's hard, yeah. And I mean, then you have their relationship that you're exploring, and then all of a sudden the book opens and he's immediately faced with another horror in his life, another tragedy, and that's the death of Archie Stout. So let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that too. They're related, aren't they? Are they distant cousins?
Very, very distantly related. I mean, I think that Shetland has a population of 23,000 people. It's a big group of islands, but so and because it was so remote, there was lots of intermarriage and lots of people were related and but distantly. And so yeah, lots of people are kind of related to other people in Shetland and Orkney. So it's quite a distant, but yes, it's quite interesting that when one of the boys is badly behaved, he's threatened that he might go and have to stay with his relatives in Fair Isle, which is like the end of the known universe for them. So that's quite fun to write too.
And it also seemed like Jimmy would go, he was at a school and he would have to stay at that residential school.
Yeah, and that's true. If you live on Fair Isle, which is only 3 miles long and a mile and a half wide, and it has um, 50 people living on there, so there might be half a dozen kids in the school, and age between nursery 3 and 11, and you're probably related to most of them. But then when you're 11, you have to go out to the high school. And because the weather's so unpredictable, Fair Isle kids couldn't come home every weekend. So they would go and they still do go and board in the hostel and get home once a month, maybe for a long weekend.
But
And it's the same in Orkney too.
it seemed like Jimmy went to Archie's house quite a bit. They were very close growing up.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yes, very close growing up. They were good friends. And when Archie's kids were at school in Kirkwall in Orkney mainland, Jimmy kept an eye out for the kids and had them round and that's very common too. That it's a big wrench sending your 11-year-old away. So
Oh yeah.
it's nice to have friends on the islands who can look in the main town of the islands who can look after the children.
Well, with Archie, it seemed though that once the murder investigation began, Jimmy had tremendous conflicts because of his
Yeah.
personal relationship with Archie, is one of his best friends. But then as the story develops, we discover that he may not have known Archie, or he feels he may not have known Archie as well as he thought he did.
That's right. And I think that's what happens quite often with friendships, especially if you make a friend with somebody when you're young and you don't have very much contact as you're growing up, and then you come back together and find that maybe you don't have quite as much in common as you thought that you did. Sometimes it's great. I meet my old school friends that we get on like a house on fire, but not everybody does. People can grow apart, I think.
But it's also interesting because Archie is not alive in the book, but he remains a character. We learned so much about him through his family, through his children, through his community as
Yeah.
we go through this novel. So he
Yes, I hope so. And I think that's what real investigators do. They need to know the victim. I need to know the victim before I start. That's who I need to know. You know, I need to you need to know why somebody should be a victim. And that means knowing the dead person very well.
do you outline your characters before you start, or it's all just as you go through?
No, it just happens as I go through.
Very
Yeah.
organic.
Yeah, very organic. I always say I write like a reader. So I write the first scene, and at that point I don't know Archie very well at all. You know, he's a dead person, but as I write, I get to know him better.
Hmm. Now let's talk a little bit about, I was fascinated by the setting. You bring us to these Neolithic uh,
Yeah,
cairns and architectural digs, and I did some research on them, and they date back to almost 3700 BC. Did you
yeah.
go there to
Oh
check?
yeah, I mean, I think Orkney is famous for that, and I did go to Orkney at the 50 years ago first because when I was working there, somebody that was working with me, I was cooking. One of the assistant cooks in the observatory with me was an Orcadian, and as our term of office was ending, she said, "Come south, come and stay with me." So I flew to Orkney and spent a bit of time with her. And since then, I went to a wedding later in St Magnus Cathedral, and I've got great friends there. And so, yes, I do know the islands and know about the. I think there's a tiny island just off Westray, which is where the murder happens, called Papa Westray, and it has the oldest domestic house in certainly in Europe and possibly the world. So you can go into this house, which is it wasn't it wasn't a big round house; it was one simple house, and you can still go and see it, which is astounding.
Did you crawl into these tombs?
I went to Maze How, which is the one where the light comes in, and
Mhm.
that's very. I was so lucky because I was there staying with a good friend in midwinter, just before the solstice, not quite midwinter, and it was freezing. And he has a very grand house, but it was so cold. Spent every evening wrapped up in coats and blankets. But we went, and the local archaeologist was very kind and took us into Maze How, and we were the only people there, our party. And as the light goes down, as the sun goes down, it's almost shaped like an igloo, so round with a little entrance place. And then it just as the sun is just about to dip behind the hill, the light comes in through this small entrance hole.
Mhm.
And it starts off and it looks liquid. It's very unusual. I've never seen anything quite like it. It looks like a bit of liquid, gold liquid running along the floor of the chamber. And then it
Mm.
gets wider and wider until it lights up the back of the chamber. And that was so lucky because it's very, very rarely clear in Orkney in midwinter. Usually it's cloudy and windy and wet, but it was very icy, but very clear and lovely. And I think the other thing that struck me about that setting was the Viking graffiti that you find there. So although it's as old as you say, it's Neolithic, but the Vikings came and they made their mark. So you can see um, the Nordic runes on the side of the walls where they've scratched and made their mark, which
Now,
is,
the murder weapons in this particular book are quite unusual. We have these stones. They're Viking stones, right?
yeah. Well, they're Neolithic, but with the Viking runes on them. So they're ancient. They're more ancient than Viking, because we live in an old country. You don't think that Vikings that ancient. Neolithic is ancient, but the, but they have these scrolls, Viking scrolls on them. Yeah.
Are they actual stones? I mean, or
There,
did
no, I made them up, but there is a lintel, the Westray lintel, which obviously went over a door in
Mhm.
I think, a feasting chamber, so quite a big chamber. And I kind of used that as a model for it. And you can go and see those in the Heritage Centre on Westray.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now, behind all of these murders that happen through the book, we're really talking about family relationships.
Yes.
And, what made you weave that whole family, the theme of family into this tale?
I think possibly because I trained to be a social worker, and a lot of our training was about family and what holds families together and what breaks them apart and what you can do to sustain that family. Um, and so I'm always interested in that, in family and the what makes a strong and successful and healthy family.
Mm,
And quite often that's about honesty, I think, and um, allowing independence and allowing each person to be their own person without having to force them into a mold.
mm,
So uh, yeah, it's interesting, and I that's what I enjoy writing about. Really, my daughter is a human geographer. She's an academic, and so she looks at the individual within their community and
mm.
within their landscape, and I think that's a bit what I do too.
When I was reading The Killing Stones, it also reminded me a lot of The Dark Wives, this with the tale of Vera, because we've got, they're so entrenched in family. And so, I mean, I think that both of these characters come from essentially troubled families.
Yes.
You have Vera and her father, and then you've got it seems a bit like Jimmy Perez was a neglected child.
I don't think he was neglected, but I think on the islands, kids had to grow up very young because
Mm,
they had to work. Everybody has to play their part in island life.
mm,
If a plane comes in, you need a group of people to make sure you man the fire tender, and you need people who are going to build the road, make the roads. You're not going to bring people in for that. It's got to be
mm,
islanders who do that. And so from a very young age, and you're working on the croft, and you're driving the tractor, and um, you're looking after the sheep, and everybody is certainly on Fair Isle, which is the island that I know best. Every year, are the hill sheep are brought together for clipping, and that's hand shears, just hand clips, and everybody on the island is up for that. The kids go, and the observatory guests, and everybody is on the hill pushing these sheep into the wall, so that the dike, so that you can gather them up to clip them. And that's, I think people, yeah, kids have to grow up quite quickly.
mm. But it also seemed like that isolation was a major propellant in the story because when that murder happens, no one can come in from Glasgow because of the weather. They're
That's right.
isolated, so everybody has to pitch in, and you really get that feeling of community
Yeah,
because
that's right. And certainly there were times when I was working on the island when the boat couldn't get in and the planes couldn't get in. And we had some visitors, I remember, quite wealthy businessmen who decided that they really had to be out for an important meeting.
Mm,
And they really couldn't understand that they couldn't get out. They
mm,
couldn't throw money at it. There was no way they could get a helicopter in to pick them up. The boat couldn't go, the planes couldn't go. The weather was just so bad that they were stuck there. And
mm.
you just had to live with it.
Well, you depict that in a couple of the characters who are trying to leave the island, and they're trying to calculate, well, if I can go to this island, I can take a boat here, and maybe I can take a boat over there. I mean, these
Yeah,
people are really weather-bound.
yeah, that's right. And you can be. I mean, not so much now, but um, I'm flying up on Friday. If it's foggy, I won't be able to go.
Mm,
I might be able to get a train to Aberdeen and get the overnight ferry. It's you can't assume that you're going to get there and back on the times and the dates that
mm.
your ticket says.
Is it snowy up there during the Christmas?
During midwinter, it
Yeah.
can be, yeah, mostly windy and wet, though. It's very windy. I have been there in blizzard in Shetland and in
Mm,
Orkney when it's been snowy, but in midwinter, it's usually windy.
mm. Let's talk about the Ba Festival. What a
Yeah,
unique, unique event. Can you
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that? Give me a little bit more detail than you had in the book. It seems like a
Yeah,
rugby match where
it
everybody's
is. It's wild. Yeah, it's the bar, which is the Orcadian dialect for the ball. It's a heavy ball, like a medicine ball,
Mhm,
and it happens on Christmas Day in the morning, and I think also on New Year's Day, but I'm not sure. I didn't research that bit. I've been in Orkney when it's been happening, but
mm,
I haven't actually seen it. And yet you have the uppies and the doonies, and it depends which side of town you were born, which team you're on. The young people do it first thing, and then the adult team, which is the strong men, only men, do it later. And the idea is you have to get this ball from the market cross, which is in the middle of the town, either up the hill or down into the harbour. And
mm.
it's there are no rules. It's just a feat of strength and like a huge rugby match. Yeah,
It seems like a free for all, and it's so important.
very much a free from all. And it really is important for the people who are taking part. Yeah,
And
it
for the
really is.
characters in the story too. I mean, this is
Yeah,
really a pinnacle that they're trying to achieve.
absolutely. It's a rite of passage for the young kids who are leaving the kids game and then certainly for the men. So yeah, it's important.
Why don't they let the women play? I mean, I can understand maybe because it's rough, but the women should have their own ball.
Yeah, maybe they will do because, of course, in Shetland, there's the big festival is the fire festival up Heliar, and for years and years it was just men, but now they do allow women into the procession for up Heliar. So
Now,
things are changing.
what advice would you give an aspiring crime fiction writer like yourself?
Read a lot.
Read a
That's
lot.
it. Yeah, just read a lot and don't follow the market because the market changes, and by the time you've written a book thinking that that's what everybody's reading at the minute, the market will have changed and it'll be something else that they're reading. So just tell the sort of story that you want to tell, and the sort of book that you would want to read, I think, because there's no guarantee that you're going to sell it.
That's
And
for
that
sure.
shouldn't be why you do it. You have to do it because you have a story that you really want to tell.
Mm. And when what do you find is your biggest challenge as a fiction writer?
Um, I love it. You see, for me, it's total joy. I
Yeah.
get up very early in the morning, I sit at my laptop here at my kitchen table, and I make stuff up for a living. I can't imagine anything better to do. I suppose the challenge comes then because that's the fun bit. But then I do feel the need to support the people, my publisher, who does the amazing job of editing and copy editing and designing and writing the copy. So I really want to be a part of that and help them promote it. And that's not quite so much fun, but it's all right. You go out and meet readers. It's a bit tiring, but I'm building up to doing the UK tour for the Killing Stones.
Do you like revising your work?
Oh, you need to revise, I think. Yeah, definitely. I enjoy revising myself because I don't plot in advance. The first draft is me just getting this book onto the page, getting it onto the screen, getting it down, and then revising is going through and making sure that you've got the right word for the job.
Mm-hmm.
A wonderful writer called Graham McCrae Burnett, he said, you go through and you make the words sing. And that they don't have to be poetic, but they have to be the right word for the job. And I
Right.
think that's the fun bit of revising. And then I absolutely feel the need for editing because
Yeah.
you're so close at that point that you don't know, you can't see it, you miss things.
That's I agree with you 100% that you need another pair of eyes to tell you
Absolutely.
to help you see what you can't see. I describe it as you reach a point where you can't see the words on the page anymore.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
filled
And
with
you just know
possibly
it so well that you imagine that you've told the reader everything that's in your head and not often you've just missed things.
mm, little minute things.
Yeah, and sometimes it just takes a couple of very tiny description to bring a character to life. And if you haven't done that, then they don't come to life.
Do you find that with setting too, that I've been to a lecture that you gave at it was at was it Malice Domestic about setting.
All right. Or was it Crime Bake? I
A
did a
crime,
talk at
yeah, it was
Crime Bake.
Crime Bake. And
Yeah.
it was so interesting how you know, how your settings become another character.
Well, I think characters and plot grow out of setting, and you need to know. You can tell when somebody doesn't know the set where they've set the book, that they don't know it well enough. I think you really do need to. Because if you don't understand a community's preoccupations, you don't know what their dialogue's going to be about, or what they do for a living, or how they speak to each other. You really need to understand a place.
That really impressed me because when you have a setting, that when you were talking about setting, you were saying it defines what people eat, the way they wear their clothing, the jobs that they have. I mean, everything, their names, and that really,
Yeah, absolutely.
their names are all
Yeah,
defined by the geography in which they live.
yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
so
I think so. And if you don't understand that, you're going to get it wrong.
exactly. And that's something I think about when I'm writing, because I write mine are centered, my books are centered in the Hudson Valley in New York, which is a very strong Dutch heritage. I mean, we were discovered
Right.
by Henry Hudson, so you get all of that kind of influence, and that's always on my mind, thanks to
Yeah.
the lecture that you gave. It really
Oh,
made
well, that's good.
it on me.
Yeah, no, I think it is important. Yeah.
What writers do you read when you're not? I mean, I know you're busy and you probably don't have time to read, but who do you
Oh,
read?
I don't know. You've got to read. You can't not read. What have I read recently? I recently read the new William Boyd called The Predicament, which, and I love his writing. He writes so well. Louise Welsh, Scottish writer who writes crime, but she's another one who really does make the words sing. I read her and think, how do you do that? That's so great.
Yeah.
Um, what have I enjoyed? I really enjoying the new Tess Gerritsen series, The Spy
Oh,
Coast and the Summer Visitors.
wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, Louise Penn is a really good friend, so I read all her stuff too.
Yeah, you it's I interviewed Tess on about her martini club, which was a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
really great. Yeah,
Really.
I interviewed her too. She came here to Whitley Bay and I interviewed her when she was on her UK tour. Yeah.
And Louise Penny, of course. She's got another one coming out in October too. She
Yeah, I've read the proof of that. It's really good.
is, it's really good. Very, very good. Now, any news on your book series other than Shetland coming to the screen?
Yeah, Shetland's coming to the screen. They've filmed two more series, I think, and I'm not quite sure when it's going to come on, but maybe later this year, maybe in the autumn. I think the first series will come out. I'm not sure. No, otherwise Vera's finished now. Brenda decided
Yeah.
she'd do the last show, so that's gone. But you know, lots of other bits option, but nothing definite yet.
Well, the long call was on Matthew
It
Went.
was.
Are they going to do anything more with him?
I think that the lead actor, Ben Aldridge, moved to Hollywood, so it was tricky to continue without him. But
Oh,
now some time has passed, it would be lovely if somebody else picked it up, I think. It would be great. I'd love to see those on and the book that I've just finished, which is just about to go to copy editing, is a new Matthew Venn book, and I loved doing that one. Yeah.
even though Vera's off the air, will you still continue her series?
I've got one more to do. Yeah, so I'm going to do one more, and then but there's the new character that appears in The Dark Wives called Rosie Bell,
Yeah,
and I think I would quite if I want to come back and write about Northumberland, I think I would feature her in the stories.
she's a
So
firecracker.
she
I like
is,
her.
yeah.
Yeah. And what about Joe? I mean, Joe's always a great character too.
Joe's still there, yeah, still being Joe.
Now, of all of your characters, who is your favorite literary child? Can you pick one to say that they?
No, that's like picking a favorite child. You can't do it. It depends too what I've just written. So I loved writing the new Matthew Venn, and so he and Jen Rafferty and Ross May, I'm really with them at the moment. They're in my head, so they're my favorite. But now I'm just thinking about where I'm going to take Vera next and how I'm going to wrap that series up. And so I'll fall for her again soon.
What about Jimmy? Are we going to see Jimmy again?
Yeah, I hope so. I really look forward to writing some more Jimmy and Willow.
That's great. Well, Anne, this has been so wonderful speaking with you.
No, it's been great to chat. So thanks very much for inviting me and for cleaning up my lens for
There
me.
you
Now I
go.
know why it's not. Sorting out my technical problems as well.
Well, it's that's because it's happened to me quite a few times. So a little Windex, it keeps it nice and clean.
Yeah.
But really, I
Thanks
want to
very much.
thank you. I'm going to just to let you know, I'm going to write the review, which I've already written. It's going to go to Book Trip, and I'm going to summarize. I usually do like 4 or 5 questions. I'm going to take
Lovely.
from our interview, and I'll send it along to Sarah, your publicity person,
Great.
and hopefully she'll send
Grand.
it along to you. But thank you, and I hope our paths cross either at Thriller Fest or Crime Bake or Malice Domestic.
You'll have to come to the UK. I'm staying a bit clear of the US for the time being.
I
So,
understand. Yeah, I'm planning to be there actually in September, the end of September.
oh, great. Oh, well, come along. And I'm doing a load of events at September, October, because that's when the Killing Stones is out. So,
And that's when I'm going to be there, right about the time the book comes out. So
yeah. So have
I'll
a
check your I'll
yeah.
check
I'm
your schedule.
launching it in I'm launching it in Orkney, I think on October the 7th, but the week before that, I'll be doing stuff locally as well. And then after that. So,
Oh, great. So maybe our paths will cross.
yeah, that would be great. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Anne.
And you, bye.
Bye bye now.